course, welcome everyone. It is a pleasure for my wife and I to be here today and to see you here in this meeting. I've also met Khaled from Egypt. He's a dear friend of mine too, so it's great to see him here too. And yeah, we've been on different meetings together as well. So we will. I think that it'll be good that every one of us gives a very brief explanation of who we are. Then for me, I'll start with that. I'm Jan Roberts from Key Leadership Institute in South Africa. I'm a leadership consultant, behavioral analysis specialist, values-based leadership specialist, also an author. We run workshops. We are executive coaches, and we've got a leadership institute, of course, that we've had for 11 years now, to nearly 12 years, that we started here in South Africa. I'm originally from the Netherlands, emigrated to Scotland, and I've been in South Africa now for 11 years. That's enough about me just now. I'm also the vice chairman, recently appointed vice chairman for Leaders of All Nations International globally, and Loani. So yes, Dr. Arti, will you introduce yourself?
Thank you so much, and I'm going to attempt to greet properly in one of the Ugandan languages. It's Wasuze Otiano, and I'm hoping that I'm saying good morning properly to everybody. It's a pleasure to be here today. Just a little bit about myself. I'm a diversity, equity, inclusion specialist for the last 28 years in South Africa and working around the world in many countries, healing countries and helping them with all of the challenges we've had when it comes to discrimination, diversity issues, racism, and leadership issues. So I'm also a leadership strategist, and I mostly work with boards of directors from Fortune 500 companies around the world and including South Africa. One of the things that I really, really enjoy is creating compassionate leaders of influence. So looking at leadership from a different point of view, from the humanness point of view, and how we can get people to actually engage with each other on a level of respect. With the influence that with the experience that I'm bringing to the table, I'm looking at leadership from the point of view of how do we guide, impact, and influence our own lives and the people around us, what we need to take responsibility for, and where we can upgrade our skills in a way that allows us to become more influential and more impactful in every area, from communities all the way through to board level. Also impacting schools, looking at our education system. I sit on many boards around the world and in South Africa, and one of the things that I'm looking at is cross-border opportunities between South Africa and Namibia currently. And I'm working alongside all of the industries from manufacturing, automation, instrumentation, engineering, and all of the beautiful things that's meant to impact countries on a different level, upgrade thinking and challenge mindsets. So that is where I'm coming from a leadership strategy point of view, and looking at human behavior, human development. I find that is the key for impact. Thank you so much for allowing me time on your platform. It's going to be amazing to watch the growth of everybody. And I'm grateful because it's always humbling when we connect with people who are investing in their own leadership journey. So it is our privilege to be in your presence. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Arti. And Mr. Joshua, will you briefly introduce yourself as well, please? You're muted, sir.
Thank you so much. My name is called Ambassador Missionary Joshua Audu. I'm a missionary by trainings, and what I do is training of missionaries and doing the gospel research and this deployment of missionaries to the global villages. In missionaries, we are trained education and medical health with gospel. So under the component of education, I subjected myself to approach John Robert to extend service to global villages, starting with my own country, because that Jesus said, before you go to Jerusalem, before you go to Judea, you start with Jerusalem. So I brought this kind of call to see that my administrators who are here, we are good first to be trained, because transformation starts with you before you go to others. So I subjected this webinar to happen to brief us on how we can have this program done. I've also founded an organization called Action for Youth Challenges. Action for Youth Challenges, we are looking at creating opportunities for Ugandan youth through networking and collaborating with different partners to see that we create development youth to address the gap of education gap in Ugandan and African societies. I founded a company called Joshua Awudu Multi Concepts, which is a bit dynamic. It works with very many sectors. Apparently now we are working with Japan to establish a space academy in Uganda, and a space station in northern part of Uganda, and a technology city, to see that African gap of technology is also mitigated. I've also founded a company that supplies school uniform called UDEX Textile and Clothing Company Uganda Limited, where we do supplies to school uniforms. We do supplies for school uniforms, and we supply laboratory chemicals to different schools. And Actiox Uganda also is piloting a project in educating African students for astronaut studies, in order to come up with African professional astronaut in the next future time. Those are the few things that we have at hand at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Joshua, for sharing that with us. And may I ask Mr. Zachary Okuru to share with us, please?
Yes, good morning, everybody in this platform. It's nice to see you people around, and also when you come into a cooperation like this one. My name is Ambassador Okuru Zachary. I'm a teacher by profession and a principal for over 12 years now. I'm a general secretary for Actiox, Justice Action for Youth Challenges, and we founded together with Joshua. We're based in Goma, Mukono district in central Uganda. And our main aim here is we want to reach children, at least 3 professors from every village in Uganda, and then we shall see how we can go outside Uganda. 3 professors from every village is our aim here. We are committed educationists, and we want to see that we are able to raise up the children to a better education, a better tomorrow, better citizens, better leaders in education. Some of us over the leadership we are in right now. So the better we raise them up, the earlier we raise them up, the better for the nation and the world at large. That's it. So thanks so much.
Thank you very much for sharing with us, Mr. Okerud. Welcome to this first meeting. And then we will go to Mr. Khaled, my friend Khaled Hamed from Egypt. Will you briefly share with us, my friend?
Yes, hello, thank you. Happy New Year. That's first session in 2026. First, sorry, I'm for camera, because I was trying to camera open. It will be the voice. It will be slowly. That's not connection good. But I prefer to talk and you listen me good. That's the better. Actually, yeah, it's my pleasure also to attend this session, dear Jan, and also it's very for me important to connect also with Monisheri, the ambassador for Uganda. I miss him since last year, and also that's good topic you talk about. Just I shared my experience in chat box, but let me update something I forget to share, that I became as partner and member board for ITA, International Teacher Association, for accreditation. That means that I can be able to give accreditation for schools, centers, anything about education and more around the world. That's global organization. I'm so lucky to become as a member in board for accreditation for ITA. And also I have next Thursday the summit for the World Book Summit. I will share for my new book in multilingual for children by AI. I created. That's really wonderful. I'm so happy to create something new by AI. It's very simple. It will be active for all students through mobile. They can learn multilingual, and what we need, we can edit that in AI. I'm so happy because I learned a lot for how I can create my lesson plan in AI. That's I think I hope this year it will be lucky for me. That's about me, and I'm looking forward to support Special Africa, because Africa it's my family. I'm so happy. Thank you, dear Jan. I hope for you very success, and thank you, Ambassador Missionary. Thank you. Take care.
And thank you very much, my friend Khaled Ahmed, for being with us. You've always been a keen supporter of everything that happens, and yeah, we are glad that you're in our midst as well. Thank you. Then we also have Mr. Paddy Kitio Kamiyeke. Will you please also share with us? You are muted at the moment, sir. Can you hear us?
Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Yes. My name is Ambassador Kitio Pade Kamyeke, a retired teacher, educator, and community leader. Currently, I am the administrator for Action for Youth Challenges of Joshua Audu. I have had an experience of over 25 years as principal and associate professor at Team University, where I'm currently employed. We are engaged in community activities that are meant to give life, to improve on life of community leaders and also the community people. We are in building schools, and our emphasis is on STEM, science, technology, and mathematics. And we want to emphasize that our African children grow with a science basic way of working. I had an opportunity to visit Israel in 2010, and we visited schools where we found parents learning to use computers and to help teachers in schools improve on IT in schools. So I am interested and I am impressed and happy to be with you. I'm also with a PhD candidate who is an inspector of schools here with me, and she is happy and excited to be part of this conversation. Thank you for listening to me.
And thank you for also sharing something about you as well, Mr. Kamiyeke. I hope that for all of us, we'll get to know each other much better as we go on. As I say, this is more an introduction, and because of that, I also want to, and we're going to talk very much about leadership development, of course, as my friend Ambassador Joshua had indicated. And it is something that is very necessary, sometimes even misunderstood. But we all realize that leadership is very it is very necessary, and it's something that we should engage in, not just sometimes, but every single day. And that comes from that leadership is quite often we when we hear the word leadership, we go and no, that's not for me, that's for them. But I want to point out right from the beginning, I always do that. I says people should realize that we are all leaders, even from a little child to the day we pass away. We are all leaders. We don't all lead at the same level, and and as my friend and mentor John Maxwell said, we don't all lead everybody at the same with the same power and impact, but we certainly lead. And so leadership is also very much about self-leadership, and self-leadership begins and ends with personal, daily, intentional development. And the word is intentional because if we don't have to sit all day learning leadership, but we need to do something every day that will help us develop ourselves. Because when we develop ourselves, we can actually start to develop others. It's a simple saying: we cannot give what we haven't got. So we need to. It kind of talks into walking the walk. We can talk leadership. We can talk all kinds of languages, but if we don't actually show by not by talking, but show by the way we behave, the way we lead others, the way we connect with others, that we actually live that leadership, then people will stop believing us very quickly. So getting that out of the way, leadership for me is very simple. These days we get all kinds of titles about leadership, transformational leadership. Now we've got AI leadership. We've got authentic leadership. There's all kinds of words that people use to describe leadership. But for me, it's very simple. Because leadership, and I quote my friend and mentor John Maxwell, who I've been part of Maxwell leadership team since 2012. And I've also been the reason I got to there because of my desire and my daily work on personal development since I was 17 years old. But John Maxwell, he's the #1 leadership expert in the world. Also, him and his father both come from a pastoral background. But he said leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. And people sometimes ask me, how can I get influence over people? And I said, well, that's the wrong question for starters. Because leadership is not influence over people, leadership is about influence with people. And it's very simple. We get influence with people when we build relationships. And then people say, but how do I really build relationships? Well, you need to ask better questions. Well, how that happens is even more simpler, but sometimes so hard to do. We need to listen better. We need to listen more intently to each other. And when you look at asking better questions, asking questions and listening better, that is actually what coaching is all about, which is another book. John Maxwell has written more than 120 books on leadership. And one of them is Good Leaders Ask Great Questions. And he always said, you can be a great coach without becoming a good leader, but you can never be a great leader without becoming a good coach. And it makes sense now, because if we can't learn to ask better questions and listen to people, because leadership is not about talking. Leadership is quite often about listening. Because when we talk, we let other people know what we know. When we listen, we actually grow ourselves. So that is the basics of it. And as I said, when we realize that we're all leaders, and that's why I'm glad we're all here, because we all want to develop ourselves daily, and we must do that if we want to have a bigger influence and a bigger impact on our community, on our communities, on our companies, on our countries, and indeed on the world. We need to be able to ensure that we are properly preparing and taking action every single day. And that is really the basis of leadership. And then my next part is about leadership. What is a real leader? Now, a real leader is somebody who's got a solid foundation based on values. And I'm not talking about values because we've all walked into corporates and we see these nice plaques on the wall, these nice framed things on the wall where they've got all kinds of values. Most of the people in the company don't know what these values are. They certainly they can't even mention them, and they have no real understanding of them. But what we're talking about really is basic human values. Values such as I mentioned already, listening, respect, forgiveness, boundaries, conflict resolution, developing people, hope. It's also powerful. And that is something we need so much more in the world. Because again, it's a saying, but where there is hope in the future, there is power in the present. But the other side of it is where there is no hope, the people perish. And I mean, being pastors, we know that comes out in a good book. But I mean, again, the question is, how can we provide hope? How can we provide a positive future for people if we are not hopeful ourselves? And what does it mean to be hopeful ourselves? So there's a lot of those kind of things that sometimes ask more questions than give answers. And for us to be able to come up with the answers, to start working constructively to build a wider impact. And it's not, leadership has never been about look at me. What can people do for me? Leadership is how can we serve others? And that is in every area of life. And that doesn't go to the point that we should become doormats to other people. That is servitude on a different level. But we need to be able to, talking about values, people of value people. And that is very important, and that is that we can apply that to every level of leadership. So, as I have talked about with my dear friend Ambassador Joshua as well, I say there is so many things in leadership that can be taught, from masterminds to master classes to how to communicate better, to even how to, it might seem strange, but how to sell ourselves. And that's sometimes is very strange, but it says, that doesn't mean that we need to sell to people, but how can we present ourselves to the world in a way that people will buy into us? So that doesn't necessarily mean that there's got to be a transformation, an exchange of money or goods, but it means that when we as leaders start to connect with others, it is easy to connect with others who are like us. As we know, birds of a feather flock together. But it is not so easy or much more challenging to connect with people who are not like us. And I'm not only talking from a personality, I'm also a behavior analysis consultant, from a personality prospect, but also from a race, a religion, culture, age, gender, political affiliation even. And I know that has been big in Uganda lately. Political affiliation, even as far as sports, people always find ways to divide themselves, and we need to be able to start to come together, and leadership, good leadership will do that, because we're also, we are now looking at our next generations, and I know you're all very much involved in our youth as well. And the question is, what are we creating for our next generations as far as leadership? What examples do we see around the world? And my friend and mentor Les Brown, as both my wife and I are professional speakers as well, and Les Brown, he's the #1 motivational speaker in the world. And he said a long time ago, he says, leadership is failing around the world because of a lack of values. And that is the one thing and that we really need to address urgently, and we need to instill values into our youth. But again, for that to happen, we also need to actively show them that we are also involved in in the development of ourselves. And to I've just written a book which will come out very shortly, and it's called The Values Handbook, which is based on all these experiences and the research I've done. But it's called The Values Handbook, how to how to live with integrity, lead with passion, and leave a meaningful legacy. And when I talk into that, I also say, we are not necessarily looking to change everybody that we come into contact with, but first and foremost to align ourselves with our values. If we better understand ourselves, if we better understand our own values, we are so much better to connect with other people. I hope that makes sense. We learn to recognize, because I've asked so many times some people as well, do you know what your core values are? And when I'm talking about core values, the things that you would never compromise on. And there's most people, if they're lucky, they come out with one or two values like honesty or integrity, they've heard, but then what? And I said, it could be a variety of things. Family, of course, religion, obviously, but there is so many things that don't necessarily have the title of a value, but they are valuable to ourselves, and that is different for each and every one of them. Yes, we've got overlaps, of course. I think everybody should look at a form of integrity, whether it's transparency, integrity, honesty. They all go hand in hand with each other, but I also find it strange when people need to say, I have got integrity. It's to say, I am a leader. If you need to tell people you're a leader, are you really? If you need to tell people you have got integrity, do you have integrity? Because if you have it, you don't have to tell people. People will come to you. People will connect with you, if that makes sense. And when people say, yeah, I'm an honest person, well, you don't have to say that, but you need to live it. And when you live it, you never have to say it. So I hope that makes sense. And so leadership has got many aspects. As I said, there is so much training. And I said when we first talked about leadership as well, Ambassador Joshua and myself have had several conversations about this. And I also know that he is passionate about working together with all of us to how can we have a better and more positive impact in the world around us and outside of our borders. And that conversation is something that has already been started. And as Ambassador Joshua said last night as well, we need to start somewhere. And that is, it takes the power of one. When we make decisions, it's one thing, because there is a lot of people, and I know you've also been in organizations and groups yourself where people talk and talk and talk, but they take no action. And I love the quote that frames that: when all is said and done, usually much more is said than done. And that is not our intention here. And I know that's not your intention either, because taking action is what it's all about. So with leadership values, with the way that we need to start, because where do you start? Do we start with a mastermind and we take a wonderful book about intentional living, or the 5 levels of leadership, or as the 15 invaluable laws of growth, the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership? There is as you see, there is all kinds of masterminds, of trainings that can be done. But I think all of them are wonderful, but there has to be something that once the lights go out on our international exposure for the day, what do we do? What do we do when we've been to a training, when we've been to whether it's a 1-day training, a 2-day? I mean, I've been with John Maxwell for many years. I've also been an ambassador and executive director in his team, and thousands of people come together twice a year. And the question is, what happens when people go home? What happens when people switch off the Zoom on a training, and then what? And that has been the biggest problem, even with Les Brown. Les Brown is done 1, 2, 3-day trainings, even here in South Africa. The first time I actually came here, I was with Les Brown as well. And he, there was 135 people in the room for 3 days. Les Brown was so impressed with the people in Africa. He says, I want to spend the last 6 months of my life in Africa. I hope it's not going to be anytime soon. He's getting near 80 now. But the point was that all these people, the emotions in the room and how it affected them. Les Brown, now I'm talking about motivation and impact, and what happened when most of these people left the room, whether it's 3,500 people at training at Maxwell Leadership Training, or whether it's 135 people in the room getting motivated and trained by Les Brown. I can tell you what happens with most of them. The Maxwell team started in 2011 and it's got nearly 60,000 coaches, trainers, and speakers now. However, most of them, and that's with the greatest intention and respect, most of them do nothing with what they've ever learned. Because there's many who come back every 6 months to go there just to be there. I mean, I went there every 6 months because I was serving as a President's Advisory Council members and an ambassador there too. So I had a different purpose as well. But there are so many people who go into trainings. The point I'm making is they go into trainings, however short or however long they are, and then because there is no sustainability, they fall back into the way of their life that was there before. And it's a very simple example as well. The reason there is so many diets around the world, that people, and it's a multi-trillion-dollar industry, because the people, and I've got people in my family who do that. There's people who go on a diet for maybe 6 weeks, 2 months, maybe 6 months even, and then they stop the diet, and then they wonder why they actually gain weight again. And it's very simple, because it's the same kind of example, but very easy to see. They start putting on weight again, and they wonder how it happened, because they go back. When they stop the diet, they go back to what they were doing before that gained them the weight in the first place. I mean, it's a simple example, but I hope it makes sense. And so it's really what it actually needed is, it doesn't need a diet. It doesn't need any of those kind of tricks and that people try to sell you. It actually needs a lifestyle change. And I think that's also something that we can see with where the world is happening today. We need, from a leadership perspective, from a human perspective, we might need a lifestyle change that needs to be helped by people like yourselves. That I mean, I'm not saying that people are doing things wrong, but the lifestyle change for a positive for us to have a positive influence, we need to bring something to the table that will have a positive influence on the people around us. Because we need to, it's all about growing the people around us. You know, the 5 levels of leadership talks about when most people, they get to level 1, where people basically become a boss. They get a title, they get a position, they get a nice office. And as John Maxwell also says, more than 70% of people, unfortunately, never go any further because they think they've arrived. Now, having arrived is a very dangerous position anywhere. I am also a martial artist, so it's in martial arts, it's in any area. When we think we know it all and we don't want to develop ourselves any further, there is only one way, because we don't stay level in life in any area. We either go up or we go down. And I always say, well, I hope that people put their hiking boots on, because we need to climb. Les Brown also says it very beautifully, when at the end of life comes to each and every one of us, which will happen, don't let it find you sliding down a slippery slope, but let it find you climbing the next mountain. And I think that is exactly why we are here, because we are going to climb that next mountain together. And that is what leadership development is all about, that we can actually join hands across the world from wherever we are, from South Africa to Uganda to Egypt, and eventually much further abroad. We've already talked about this, that we can actually see how can we connect with other people who are in different countries, from different backgrounds. How can we connect with each other and grow together? Because you can go, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, walk together. And that is something that we need to do. So it's from that. I'm just seeing that Arthur's also shared. Okay, Artie's already put a beautiful file in the meeting, and I want Artie to speak, Dr. Artie to speak into this as well, because I also want you to get an idea what how passionate and powerful and compassionate my wife is about all of the human development, and she's doing amazing things with the task force. But then we come to having said all that, we're talking about leadership development, we talk about sustainability, we talk how can we ensure that things that we develop don't die with us, that we don't take them to the grave, or we don't say, okay, we did a good job, we've been here, and then all of a sudden we look around and nothing changes around us. Well, there is, of course, we all know the quote, "Be the change you want to see in the world." But what does that really mean? What does that mean to us individually? We can say it and say, "Oh yeah, and people go, "Yeah, well, we need to do that." But what does it mean? And it means something different to everyone. But in values-based leadership, we also talk about the quote there is, "Transformation begins in me," and that is a very similar thing. But it says, when we also all know that whatever is wrong with things around the world, and whatever we don't agree with, whatever needs changing, it is surprising that when we change, the world around us seems to change. And that is really where the start of it is, and that's why that slogan is so powerful, that transformation begins with me and begins in me. And that is where values-based leadership comes in, because values-based leadership is actually very simple. And that is, I think, that will be something that will be our foundation to put building blocks on that foundation. Because again, if we don't, so many people, they say, okay, I want leadership development, and then they grab a book, we'll do a workshop on it, or an 8-week mastermind on the book, or whatever else. But again, it's like building a house brick by brick in a swamp. Whenever the weight gets too much, the house will start tilting, or you would never do that. I mean, people would look at you strange and say, "We're going to go into the swamp and build a house." I say, "Do we need a foundation?" "Nah, we just build it there. It'll be strong enough." It'll be crazy. And that's the same with our leadership, but we don't look at it the same thing, because it's not physical. It's not putting a brick on top, but it is putting a brick it puts in brick by brick by brick into our minds, and from that we need to go from the head level to the heart level, and now that's where values-based leadership comes in, because it is very challenging, to say the least, if we want to develop other leaders, when we're going to tell them what to do, when we're going to say, you need to do this, you need to do that, and we need to instruct, of course, and that makes sense. But if we going to build leadership sustainably, then there has to be a foundation, and that foundation is sustainability. And how do we get the sustainability to that? And that means is, how can we ensure that this, even when we're not there, that this will that continue as well as develop exponentially. Now, there is quite a few stories, and even with what I sent Ambassador Joshua already, there is also a video in there from what happened when we went to Guatemala in 2013. Where we trained in 3 days. We were there for a week, but in 3 days we trained 19,000 people from all walks of life, to become facilitators in this powerful program. It's the first time I saw it, and then something else happened, because I think another thing what this does, and I'm describing this just now, is we need to. John Maxwell has another quote. He says, "Once you have tasted significance, once you've really tasted significance, success will never be enough." And I'll be quite honest, until 2013, I did not really know what the difference between significance and success was. But I mean, I saw it and experienced it, and I felt it there in Guatemala. And the difference between success is for yourself. I mean, there's plenty of successful people around the world, they've even become billionaires, but they die empty because they walked over the top of people to get to where they are, and they've got all the trappings of success. I mean, we see famous stars like Whitney Houston and film stars and all that. We've seen them, and they committed suicide because we don't know what goes on behind closed doors. We hear about people who were very wealthy and yet they led a miserable life. And that's it. So success is for yourself, but significance is for others, and helping and serving others. And luckily, significance does not depend on age, on gender, on culture, on anything, not even on money. You don't need to. I mean, Mother Teresa started, and her aim was to help one person to lead a better life. And as I say, the rest is history. But there is so many people who we can have examples of that they started. The same as we're doing here, we're starting something that will grow. But when we help other people, I mean, it doesn't have to be grand things in life. It could be simple things. How we assist others with their development. How we can help an old lady across the road. How we open doors for other people. It's the little things that add up, and it's that feel good factor. And again, when we were there on the way home, I quit my job of 30 years in the oil industry as one of the foremost specialists in the world, and one of the few in what I did. But it wasn't about that. I mean, once you know that there is something more for you to do, you can ignore it. And as Les Brown said, most people do that because they're going to do things tomorrow. And as I said, one day there will be no tomorrows, because we don't know how many days we're. We're all blessed that we're here today, and we hope we're going to be here tomorrow. And as I said, every morning when I wake up, I talk about this. I say the first thing is I'm blessed and highly favored, because I am, to open my eyes. And we all are. But the thing is, he said, the richest place is not the diamond mines of South Africa, or the gold mines and the oil fields in the Middle East, or the stock markets around the world. He says the richest place is the graveyard, because that's where books were never written, inventions were never invented, songs were never sung. I think you get the picture that people say that's where people are who said, tomorrow we're going to do this. And that is the danger with most, and that's why I'm really happy that we are here together today. But it needs that sustainability. So values-based leadership, it is the most powerful program in all the years of training that I have been with, even in the John Maxwell team. We've got all kinds of powerful material to come on, but I can promise you that when that foundation is built, and we need it for our youth as well. We need to bring our youth back to basic human values. We need to instill it in everybody, like our grandparents did to us, like our parents did to us. I mean, I didn't realize when I was younger how much my grandparents on the farms in the Netherlands, how much of a positive influence they had in showing by what they did, the values they instilled in me. And that included hard work, and they were also very religious, and to live with those values without even saying it. I only realized it afterwards. I says, yes, this value, who do you know that really was a role model for you? Quite often I use both they passed away obviously now, but my grandparents as role models for this, because I remember that how all those kind of things were taught without saying, oh, you need to know this value. So we seem to, with everything that happens in social media and everything else, we are distracted from what really is meaningful in all of our lives. Every day more and more, we are divided through all that kind of whatever we believe. Whatever the world is wanting us to be divided, because it's divide and conquer, but we do this to ourselves as well. There was a guy, not Miles Monroe, Miles McPherson. He wrote a book called The Third Option, and in the third option, I heard him talk, and he said, people it's so easy for people to fight themselves on all kinds of things. But when they know that we're 99.5% similar, our skin, our heart, everything that we are, it might be the color of our skin might be different. It might be we might have different beliefs, we might have different habits, we might have different cultures, but really we divide ourselves on that 0.5%, and that's how the world is slowly but surely, dare I say it, falling apart. Especially we only need to look around what is happening, and we have, I think, first of all, a duty to ourselves, but also a duty to our communities, our families, our communities, and indeed our countries, to make sure that we start uniting again. And how do we do that? Sitting around the table, talking about something different. And he said the third option is, see, instead of fighting about things, now, whether we believe in it, or we believe we're right, or somebody else is right, instead of fighting and having those kind of discussions or arguments with each other, we need to talk about something else where we don't divide ourselves, something else that we can actually have a discussion on without fighting, and those things are values. So if we sit around the table and have discussions about one value a week, whatever the value is, it's half an hour to an hour a week, have a discussion about the values, the discussions outside of those rooms will change. It is amazing what happens. I don't know if Dr. Arthi, if you want to jump in at some point, please do, because both Dr. Arthi and I we went to Berlin, Ohio. I went in 2014, especially after what happened in Guatemala. And more than 3 million people in Guatemala, of the 14 million people in Guatemala, have now gone through that process. Guatemala has been changing ever since. In fact, they had a presidential change for the first time after we've been there, because the average age in Guatemala was 14 million people. So you can imagine. But there's a whole story behind it. But after that, 2 years after that, they had a presidential change without bloodshed for the first time ever. And they put it down to the fact that values came into their country. So there is all kinds of stories which we will get to as we go through the values-based leadership. But I really want to ensure that we start to understand how important this is, not only for our own growth, but one of the things I really see happening all the time is that we start to connect from the heart level to from the head level to the heart level. And when we connect at the heart level, we can do anything, whether we stand on a stage, whether we coach, whether we train, whether we speak, whether we speak into other people, whether it's one person or 1,001. We need to start connecting at the heart level. The human touch is so important, as the COVID era clearly shown. When we couldn't connect with other people, it has done a lot of harm. The fallout of that are still coming, but we need to start doing this, and the values are the tools. So Dr. Arthi, if you can want to, I've talked a lot just now, and as you can hear, I'm passionate about this whole development of people and leaders. And that's why we're here in the first place. But please.
Thank you so much for that. It's always a pleasure to listen to you, Jan, because you know what, I'm always inspired as well. So thank you so much for that. While you were talking and having listened to the introduction, what I decided to do was just to do a little bit more of a deep dive into Uganda and what values could do from a country basis, but starting with who's on the call. Because I find that when people invest in leadership, in whichever shape or form it comes in, and the choice here is the values-based leadership, I wanted to see how it could actually be created as a roadmap and also a structure. Because a lot of times we can talk into what value a program can bring to people, but it always makes sense to actually work out what the impact could be in terms of your influence using the program in everyday life, in communities, in the schools, in military, looking at from the ministerial point of view. And so what I did was, while you were talking, I actually put together two different documents that could add value out to this conversation. It could also be something that the team that are on the call right now can go and take a look at and have discussions around it, because then it gives them an idea of how to use the values-based leadership as an investment, not just for themselves, but a vision and impact for an entire country in the different sectors. One of the things that I've come across is that there's always a disconnect across various sectors. And Ireland actually created an incredible impact story, because what they did with the values-based leadership program is they developed the values from president level all the way through the entire country, instilling it from airports to government to manufacturing, automation, every industry, all the way to schools, to the youngest kids in school. So telecommunications, automotive industry, and IT, whichever industry, nobody was left untouched with this values-based leadership program, and they chose the values that made sense to them. Now, what is brilliant about it is that the impact created a report, so it was sustainable change. And when Jan is talking about the values-based leadership, it might make sense to actually describe it in a simpler format. The way we're talking about it is not organizational values. We're talking about human behavioral values. So when we talk about human behavior, we also need to understand that mindset needs to be adjusted, to be changed, to be impacted, to be challenged. So if we are having issues within any country, right, there's a lot of challenges across different sectors. There's always a disconnect between government versus people on the ground. We always talk about, no matter where we are in Africa, people always say that nobody cares about grassroots level people. What is happening at government level and policy level, they don't care about grassroots levels and how people are suffering. There's still poverty, there's malnutrition, there's lack of education, there's lack of infrastructure. We always talk about what there isn't enough of. And yet, in the same breath, we talk about how do we unify people's voices in a way that they're heard? How do we challenge injustice in a country, in an organization, in a community, in an environment where everybody wants a better life? And so what we found is that when we actually became specialists as values-based leadership specialists, we invested to go and learn and discover how we could use this program in every sphere of influence. So we went into squatter camps in our country using the same program to realign xenophobia. We went into different organizations where they had gender-based violence as a massive issue. And what we did there was help to actually develop the way people respected each other, men, women, children, older people. We're talking about generational issues. We used it to realign the way people saw themselves and to develop the skills to be able to engage with each other, communicate better. They learn conflict resolution techniques, personal development techniques, self-development for their self-confidence, their self-esteem. And when you're in a position of influence, we do not know what the status of the person's thinking is when you are preaching from a pulpit. You are sharing a brilliant and thoughtful speech, something that's meant to impact them, but we don't know what they're feeling, where they're hurting, why they're hurting. We don't know whether our words are impacting them at a deep level that needs to move them out of their sorrow, their pain, their hurt, their unhappiness. And we're always trying to influence people to guide them to a better life. And now, when we're thinking of it from that point of view, it always makes sense that as we motivate people, when we want to guide them, we need to give them the support to sustain their development. And so when we're engaging using this program, it's 1 hour once a week. We use it within families that are disconnected, where there's a lot of internal violence, there's sexual abuse, there's anger, there's disconnect with the parents and the children. We're looking at human behavior. And using these values actually realigns and nurtures the way that people think about themselves. It is uplifting their character development. It is instilling with them how do they value themselves, and then how do they value their environment, which means it's a holistic approach. We went into schools where there were young children, and I know that we have got Madam and we've got Mr. Paddy listening in from, being retired teachers. It makes sense. When we go into schools, you're having to realign the behaviors of children where parents were disconnected and did not give them the foundations. Previous generations, the parents were fully engaged with their children. There was discipline, there was attention. It was a different environment and the way they connected. Now we're in an environment where the children rule the teachers, where policies protect bullying over in an institution that should be disciplining the mind, the way, the actions, the behaviors. Now you're having to discipline unruly children and things that should have been values driven. And so when you look at the moral behavior, and I know this would actually appeal to you, Ambassador Joshua. From a ministerial point of view, you're always talking into the morality of people. So what we want to do is work out how do we instill that for people to take responsibility for the behavior. So as you talking into excerpts from the Bible, how do you make that stick? How do you cement that thinking for people? You use some of the different values that actually resonate at that level. And I know for Mr. Zachary, it would make sense from a security point of view, from a military point of view. How do you instill ethical behavior? How do you get everybody to be disciplined in a different way? And it's not just from a military point of view, but it's from a point of compassion. That we're here to be of service and to serve in a way that actually challenges thinking, and we work out how we can be the servants to a country to help to guide that discipline in a powerful way. So when we look at this program, what you're investing in is your own skills and ability to be able to utilize this in every sector, bring it together across every environment, going into schools where we're giving the teachers the skills that they were never given. They do not have access to it. They're not upgraded in the educational system to be given the ability to be influential. They're taught how to teach, not how to inspire. They're taught how to teach curriculum, not how to influence behavior. And what we want to do is give people back their power and the ability to challenge mindsets on a different level, but they don't have to take responsibility for it. The people who are on the receiving end of the values-based leadership must be fully accountable for their own behavior, their own actions. And what's stunning about the program is that it gives them the ability to practice it the entire week and then to come back and to feel good about the impact that it had in their lives, to show that that growth actually brought them positivity, for them to have a deep dive into their own thinking and ask, why am I so triggered? Why do I get angry? How do I realign that anger? How do I remove conflict? How do I restrain my own emotions? When you're looking at youngsters who are taking their lives because they do not have the coping mechanisms, as adults, none of us were given psychology training to be able to assist young developing leaders, young people coming out of school feeling upset that they don't have access to opportunity. When you're looking at young people's development, a lot of people were never given the emotional intelligence to be able to guide their thinking in that way. And when we look at all of these nuances from the values-based leadership program, it allows us to then see which of these values would resonate with young people. Same program, different value. What you're doing is you're using it specific to industry, to sector, to the age of the people you're interacting with, and you're realigning injustices on every level. So when we're talking about gender-based violence, when we're talking about bullying in the work environment, when we're talking about discrimination, we're talking about racism, we're talking about political issues. We use this, and I personally use this with ministers from different political parties. And the key there was respect in communication. You can be from different political parties, but that does not mean that you should be allowed to disrespect each other, because we have gotten too used to disrespect to power play, manipulate, and control other people, to be able to look at my thinking is the right way. So it's taking away the rightness of people and putting it righteousness, but using values-based leadership as the foundation to grow the skills of people. We always talk about skills development, but people don't explain to you what type of skills are people looking for. It's not just the technical skills. Those are learned to allow people to grow in their lives on a technical environment, to earn a living, to be able to engage on that level. What is missing is the emotional intelligence, the ability to handle the person's emotional state, learning how to actually be fully cognizant and present with whoever they are with, to learn how to have a self-confidence that when they walk into the room, they do not dumb themselves down because they don't feel insignificant and they don't feel inferior. How do we remove that inferiority complex from countries that were dumbed down for too long by Western influence? How do we remove that handout mentality waiting for other people to save us? What we're doing is we're instilling a program that allows people to save themselves. And when they do that, it makes your influence way more powerful and easier. And the whole point here is how to give people back their own power over their own lives. So we're not looking for people to be grateful for you. They must work out how you can use this program so that they find gratitude for who they are as human beings. So what I have done is I've actually looked at some of the strategies that make sense. I've put together two different power letters, and I've actually put that into our chat box as a way to guide the conversation forward. But I know that the fact that you have engaged with Jan has been in the oil industry for over 30 years, working with multi-billion-dollar projects around the world. He has learned how to connect with people, how to overcome, and even in his personal life, he learned how to actually grow from his own experiences to help to guide people because of that. His influence is quiet, but it is powerful. When we're in his presence, it makes sense to actually understand the value that is being offered here. And I was inspired by him personally 11 years ago. When he spoke about values-based leadership, I knew it was a no-brainer. And so what I decided to do was follow him and to understand how his influence could impact my life. And I have personally grown because of being in his presence. And I just wanted to say that it's an honor for me to be allowed to be on this platform because of him. So just from my side, huge gratitude to you, Jan and Ambassador, because you are both visionary leaders, and it takes visionary leaders to start to challenge the conversations and to give people the opportunity to grow. And they've chosen to grow because they're on this call. So from my side, I just want to say thank you. And that's all I feel that would make sense to add to this conversation today.
And thank you very much, Dr. Arthi. As you see, it's my privilege and pleasure also to work on a daily basis with my wife. We both have a passion to impact lives, and that's why I also know that we're here today. Not only the two of us, but of course a group that is here. And I noticed we've also got somebody else who came into the room. But there's a question from Ambassador Joshua first. Please ask.
Oh, thank you for giving me the time. I would want to find out, you talked about 5 levels of leaderships, and you talked about 15 stages of growth leadership. When one is to attend these classes, for how long can these two stages of leadership trainings takes for us to complete? Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for that question as well. I mean, both of these trainings will usually be around 8 weeks, with one session a week for 8 weeks. That's how most of them work. But there is a lot of those And that's why I said, there is many of those, and they're all powerful in their own right. But as I said, the basis, we need to establish that foundation that we can spread. We can start spreading that, because the whole idea about the values-based leadership is where people get trained. I can, if you want, I can take you through the framework for this in a minute and show you, because once we build the foundation, once everybody starts to become certified international facilitators, that means they can facilitate this in their families, they can facilitate this in their companies, in their communities, and the wider field. And the whole idea about this is, as I was saying to Ambassador Joshua yesterday, I was the day before yesterday, I was talking to a few pastors in India, which is also interesting, and they were also looking at leadership development. And I said, the one thing that really helps, there is a whole history behind values-based leadership, where it came from. It actually came from the Amish community, where they very quickly they actually but probably for about 40 years ago, maybe more than 40 years ago, businesses weren't doing so well around, but there was a group of 7 businessmen who were doing much better than everybody else. So the 2 people were very curious about that, and both of them are Jerry and Bernie. We know them personally because we went to Berlin, Ohio, to get trained as a specialist. But they wanted to find out what made them more successful than everybody else. And as a pastor, you'll like this, because they went in there and they found out that every Tuesday morning, because they asked, can we find out? They said, well, come on Tuesday morning, come and see what we do. So on Tuesday morning, every morning, Tuesday morning at 7 o'clock, they were sitting down, and the 7 businessmen had one scripture. And what they did is they discussed the one scripture that week, and they implemented that scripture for the week. And that's how they became much more successful than everybody else. So what happened from there is, that's how the values-based leadership program started to develop. And again, it is for all levels. We can tell you that, we've been to, I've personally been training generals and colonels in the Military Intelligence Academy. We've been to schools, we've been to government, we've been to businesses, we've been to communities, everywhere, informal areas, as Dr. Arti mentioned as well. But what happened was after that they also went to Colombia. And Colombia is not really known for its values. It certainly wasn't. It's getting better. And again, that's got their own stories. But when they went there, they could not use the scriptures, because they would have ended up in jail at that time. So what happened was all they did was they replaced the scriptures itself. The values are exactly the same. They replaced the scriptures with a quote. And as I said to the pastors the other night, I said, people, as soon as they hear that the scriptures, we need to use that. I said, well, yes, we've got the principles as well, but the values are better for a variety of reasons, because especially in let's say a religious setting, we want to be as inclusive as possible, and we want to attract people into our midst. So if we do that, and sometimes the best way to do that is to add value to people. So when we start adding value to people in our wider communities, then the question is going to be, what more do you have for us? And you open that door for opportunity to them to come into your churches and your buildings to learn more. But it is a great step forward, because when people start feeling better about themselves, when people start building themselves, they really they know that where the value comes from, they want to be around people, and that's where the impact really starts. So I said to them, I says, use the values, because you can reach a wider community, and from there, not everybody will come through that door. But I mean, many more people will, because when you do things for other people and add value to them, they want to be around you. It is as simple as that. And that's where leadership has grown, because leadership has grown by building relationships. And that is in every walk of life, even in business. If you don't build relationship, if you're a dictatorial leader of a company, you'll find out that the productivity is low, the turnover rate, the absenteeism is low, the atmosphere in the business is usually terrible. And people don't want to work there. So there is all kinds of stories of that, how that changed as well when values were brought in, including the leadership. And that's why I say this program is top down, bottom up, and everybody in between. As I mentioned to the ambassador as well, we had groups where the tea lady was sitting at the same table with the CEO of the company, and it says it's all levels, sideways as well as up and down. So it really affects everybody, and the power of it. I said as already to the ambassador, I said, one of the things that I can guarantee 110%, when you actively get involved in the process of values-based leadership, it will change your life. No ifs, buts, and nothing else. I can guarantee you that. And that is not a promise I make easily. But over the last nearly 13 years now, we have seen this time and time and time again, whether people are living in the informal areas, or whether they are in government, or whether they are in a corporate, or in a community organization, in schools. It is amazing what happens. I mean, we've got stories even when we did this online with Transformation of Lebanon in 2020, where people were actually connecting to Iraq from because it goes outside your border. So they connected with a school in Iraq. Just a quick story about that. And there the youngsters were, I think, 7 to 13 years old, and there was more than 100 of them. And of course, they had to do this in Arabic, but we both Dr. Arti and myself were invited because we worked with Transformation Lebanon, and these kids, it was beautiful because they learned to say a few words in English, but you could see the joy of them and the feedback after even 6 weeks. The head teacher and these were all top level kids, but the headmaster of the school said, after that, it says, what happened here in the last 6 weeks, I could not even try to imagine that I could do in a year. And that is because the kids started connecting. They started believing in themselves. They started doing all those kind of things. So what I'm saying is, it will go across borders. The one thing you haven't got to control is when this starts, it will spread into different countries. I mean, we because of Lebanon, we had trainings even online with people from Libya, from Morocco, and other different Middle Eastern countries, that people had connections and they wanted to know how this could work for them as well. So, but if you'll allow me, I'll take you quickly through the process of this, and then I'm sure if you've got any questions, then I would love to hear. Let me have a look, make sure that I put it on my background. But as I say, the documents that Dr. Arti shared as well, they are. I will also share them with the Ambassador Joshua afterwards, but you can download them as well. And these are, she's very quick, and she's also a brilliant strategist, so she's very quick in putting all that together. Oh no, not WhatsApp, share screen. It's both the green buttons. Share screen. So there is a lot to it, and we've mentioned this a lot. Now I will go slideshow. Click on start. So I hope you can all see this slideshow just now. And this won't. I will just take you through there because I will send it to you as well. This is more a framework for implementation. I sent Ambassador Joshua also the whole proposal for this, but this is more the framework. So basically, I need to put this somewhere. So, yeah. So the introduction, what is values-based leadership? We've talked about this. It's an approach that prioritizes core values as a guiding principle for decision-making, communication, and interactions within an organization, school, or community. There's a roundtable methodology that creates a culture of respect, accountability, and trust, leading to sustainable personal and professional growth. And it creates psychological safety in any environment. whilst developing a person to reflect on their own areas of strength and room for improvement. And it is absolutely profound method to upskill and invest in personal development while impacting professional space too. The benefits are enormous. Increased employee engagement and alignment, strengthened teamwork, collaboration, enhanced personal leadership. See, I'm going to go through this quickly because you will get this anyway, but higher customer satisfaction and community impact, skills development from at all kinds of levels, self-leadership, goal setting, so much more. Here's key benefits. It creates a purpose-driven culture. It enhances decision-making accountability, boosts employee engagement and retention, strengthens team collaboration and communication, drives sustainable impact and transformation. And that one I really want to rest on very briefly. It creates leaders who influence organizations, communities, and industries by instilling values that drive real change and long-term growth. And that is one of the keys of this. As I said, there is not a program that I've ever come across, and I've been on many trainings and I have access to much information that that is incredible. So there is actually, it's a sustainable plan, and there is 48 values. So there is a very plain system. There is round tables. So we sit around the table on a weekly basis, as Dr. Arthi also mentioned, up to an hour with small groups of people, and we can do that anytime, as many times as we want during the week. We can do this online as well, which we do too, including the training. But implement a module. A module can have 6 to 10 values, and the values don't have to be like they are here. They're interchangeable. There's 48 values, so we can have discussions about which values are the most important ones and put them in the first module. And this is of course after the training of facilitated training. Excuse me. So it's all this is focused, tracked, monitored, audited, and measured through online surveys, data collection, and system implementation. So there is when people ask, how has the impact been of this training, whether it's in 10 weeks, and we can, this can go on for 48 weeks because it's sustainability, and that is one of the powers, and that's why this program works. There is reinforcements and also recognition. There is all kinds of material that's available that really helps people, because they say recognition, grown babies cry for it and grown men die for it. It is very simple but very powerful. When I first came back from Guatemala, I couldn't understand. There's only 5 steps in this. Why is this so powerful? And then I recognized that it's human beings make things difficult. But 5 simple steps, and these 5 simple steps will change lives in a ways that absolutely people don't ever really understand until they get involved in it. There is possibility to assess the culture at the moment. So a survey, there is surveys that can be done when people go into organizations, whether any kind of organization, because then from that survey we find out what the values are that are needed now. So as I said, we don't start with module 1, and when we know that respect, which is in module 5, is one of the main things that needed. No, that's all interchangeable. Nothing is set in stone for that. But there is a survey can be done at all levels. Gather information and the results, analyze feedback, share insights with leadership to ensure the commitment and transparency. Leadership commitment and buy-in. So gain support from executive teams, managers, and key stakeholders to champion the values-driven culture. As I said, this is happening in entire countries. We've done this several times, both online as well as offline. I talked about briefly about Guatemala. In 2016, we went to Paraguay. Dr. Arthi and myself went to Ireland in 2018. Then when COVID happened, we went online with Transformation Lebanon, Transformation Bangladesh. We worked in Pakistan as well. And of course, in South and Southern Africa a lot. Define organizational core values, set clear expectations. Then implementation, the roundtable methodology. So that's really where it comes down to. The selection and training of facilitators. At first, there's going to be facilitators, and once these facilitators start facilitating groups like yourselves, at some point in the next few weeks, people are going to say, how can I become part of this? I want to do things that are bigger than myself, and we're talking into significance now again, because people will feel it now. They want, and that's one of the things I wanted when I came back from Guatemala. On the way home, I quit my job, and I wanted this as part of the offerings, and there was this case of, if not now, then when? If not me, then who? And if not this, then what? So the thing was, I want people to feel significant, because that is the thing that will build people's legacy. I wanted people to feel, even if they could only feel half of what I experienced in Guatemala, I know that their lives would change, and now we see this. But when I see people become leaders, because when they stand up and become facilitators, and they want to become facilitators, that's already a leadership position without calling it leadership. But that builds leadership, because leadership does not necessarily have to have a name. It has to have the vision. It has to have a behavior. That leadership is not a position or a title. Leadership is behavior. It's as simple as that. But it identifies people who want to become champions via values-based leadership. We train and certify these facilitators to lead the round tables. That's basically sitting around the table by either online or offline. And we ensure ongoing coaching, mentorship, and support. We do webinars for this afterwards as well. We ensure networking and connection with other certified facilitators. People who become facilitators become part of our family and become part of a bigger group where we can connect with other facilitators. So if we, when the time comes that we say, we need to train 1,000 people, for example, we can bring in different facilitators as well who've been with us for years already. Or this is okay, we train more people. We train a core group of people in an area, in a country, whatever, and then we ensure that they really start using the process, so that when we go exponentially grow, that we can do this in a massive scale. I mean, as I said, 19,000 people, and there was 150 of us went to Guatemala, and that's the first time I came across it. We had 17,000 people in a week in Paraguay. And again, because Spanish is their first language, we had interpreters. And then, of course, we went to Ireland, where things started in a phenomenal way. But you get access and collaborate with VBL specialists like us for personal community upliftment, special projects, women and youth development projects, for CSI projects. And then the weekly roundtable values. There are 48 to choose from, with each module consisting of 10 values each. Each weekly structure program focuses on one key value per session, encouraging reflecting, real-life application, and accountability. And each session includes discussion of a core value, honesty, accountability, respect. I've mentioned some others as well. Personal reflection and application. Participants share experience and set action plans. And everybody talks about themselves, because it's all about I and me, so we can learn more about each other, but we can also express ourselves better. There's going to be peer support, creating a judgment-free environment that creates engagement, and that's really important. Integration into daily operations, so to embed values into everyday work cultures. Align the VBL principles with business goals, customer service, and employee development. Incorporate values into hiring, onboarding, performance management, and training. Use recognition tools like high five engagement to celebrate progress. There is a stunning peer support process that encourages acknowledgement and instills a system to praise and honor individuals for embracing change, which is also very important. Encourage growth, embrace positive upliftment, and entice meaningful engagement across all levels, departments, diverse cultures, and needs and expectations. Everybody is included, as nobody is left behind. So in Loani, there is a quote, all means all. And that's what we do as well. We've done this for years already. So create an environment of inclusion and respect. And that is very important. So there's impact. It's all measurable to service, performance metrics, qualitative reports. There's recognition and reinforcement, high five engagement. So there's recognition certificates, peer-to-peer high five awards. All this will be explained fully in the training. High five challenge bracelets, customer leadership acknowledgements, again with certificates and all that, because to ensure continuous motivation, implementing these tools is really important. And a sustainability plan. Train new employees so they grow exponentially. In VBL principles during onboarding, regular refresher programs for continued engagement, and leadership-led reinforcement through coaching and storytelling. Expected outcome for long-term impact. Well, personal growth is absolutely amazing. There's not another program that has gone so deep and does so much. Self-leadership and decision-making, strengthening emotional intelligence and resilience, team and organizational impact, higher collaboration and trust within teams, enhanced customer satisfaction and business result, creation of sustainable values-driven company culture. And by implementing the structured values-based leadership framework, organizations, schools, and communities can cultivate a culture of integrity, accountability, and excellence, ensuring long-term success and meaningful transformation. And that, ladies and gentlemen, we've got a video of this as well. I don't know, Artie, will we run the video? Artie?
Yes, perfect, yeah.
Okay, now this, very quickly, this is the video of what happened in Guatemala 13 years ago, the video that caused me to want this to become part of our what we do now. And I think when you see that this is the first time we went to Guatemala, this is powerful. And if this can happen in Guatemala, if this can happen in Paraguay, in Ireland, and all these other countries, it can and will happen in Uganda. I will. It's also, the link is also in the proposal, but I'll send it to you too. Can you hear this?
Oh, the voice is not being heard, but we can only watch the video. I do not know. Maybe you could set from the other side. Thank you.
Okay, hold on 2 seconds.
Just double check the sound settings, yeah.
Yeah, I need to stop sharing for a minute. And meeting info more. I need to set this. Docs knows whiteboards. No. Meeting info. Where the heck do I send the sound settings? Maybe I have to switch it on first. Let me just try, because I want you to just not to watch the video. That is.
Put the video on, and then on your audio settings.
Yeah.
You can click on there until it starts playing. So let it play in the background, and then on your audio settings, keep.
Oh, I need to.
Okay, try stereo.
Guatemala has many challenges. It's a beautiful country and they're beautiful people, but there's a lot of malnourishment in the country. There's a lot of crime in the country. And we were challenged by the fact that it's so young, only 20 years of age is the average age here in the country. And we thought this is the place to go to begin to affect in a positive way the next generation.
Oh. Sorry.
Your sound has disappeared again, Jan.
Hold on. It's a live show. How do you share? Let me share. It's here. Hold on. I will get this up once more and then I'll play from the current slide. I don't know how.
Okay, no sound still?
No,
maybe go back down to audio settings again.
You got it now?
No. It was playing until.
There you go.
Well, it's playing.
Got it now,
Guatemala has many challenges. It's a beautiful country and they're beautiful people, but there's a lot of malnourishment in the country. There's a lot of crime in the country. And we were challenged by the fact that it's so young, only 20 years of age is the average age here in the country. And we thought this is the place to go to begin to affect in a positive way the next generation.
The need of transformation of Guatemala is, I think, clear in a way that we have a gap in the society. We have one Guatemala here in the city, and in the countryside is totally different Guatemala. We have poverty, we have malnutrition, we have no human rights at all. So what we need is to close that gap. And the only way to do this is provide opportunity to the people to be empowered, start to believe that they can produce, and start to believe that they can become part of the whole society that will change Guatemala.
How does the transformation take place?
¿Cómo ocurre la transformación?
Begins with a calling.
Comienza con un llamado.
I want to make a difference.
Yo quiero hacer una diferencia.
Stands on a cause.
Se sostiene sobre una causa.
Doing something that makes a difference.
Hacer algo que haga una diferencia.
Spreads from me to we.
Y se despliega desde el yo hacia el nosotros.
With people who want to make.
Con gente que quiere hacer una diferencia.
There's one more point.
Hay un punto más.
It breathes with a sense of urgency.
Y respira, camina con un sentido de urgencia.
How are you? You're here.
That I want you to understand the significance of what is about to happen. This is my greatest week in my leadership life.
It was a life-changing time for me.
Fue para mí una época de un cambio de vida.
Because in 1974, I came to this conclusion.
Porque en 1974 yo llegué a esta conclusión.
That everything rises and falls on leadership.
De que todo sube y baja por el liderazgo.
Everything.
Todo.
Not some things.
No algunas cosas.
Not most things.
No la mayoría de las cosas.
Everything.
And you gave up a lot to be here. You paid financially, you paid your tickets, you gave up a lot to be here. So when I look at you and I smile, it's true I smile because I like you. It's true I smile because you're my coach. But it's really true I smile because you're a gift of God to me. And I want you to always remember that. You get to experience with me this week my greatest leadership week in my life. We get to do it together.
And one more time, thank you, thank you, thank you. From my heart, thank you, thank you, thank you for our future generations. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Because this is the moment that is going to start the transformation of 13 million people.
Success this week would look like people embracing the change. And I think we're already seeing success. Because wherever we go, you see people embracing the change. I hear stories of people embracing transformation and saying, transformation begins with me. Transformation is in me. I can be the start of a movement. And you see it in young people's faces, and you hear it from people who are more experienced. But I've already heard stories that have brought me to tears and beyond. People who are embracing transformation, parents who see their kids embracing transformation and what it means to them. So success, to me, would be the continuation of what's begun.
what was pretty special was to be able to be in the round table with the administrators that are responsible for kids that are my daughter's ages. And to see that we have a lot of opportunity and a lot of upside where we live, and then to be able to come and have an impact here with those same kids. They're just kids. Tony shared, he said, they have those same dreams and goals and aspirations that they're being squashed all the time. So I'm always looking to lift that for my daughters, and to be able to come and have maybe some small impact on Tony and his department, lifting the lid on those kids in Guatemala, absolutely is beyond success to me, and I absolutely love the opportunity to be here.
I know. And as a pastor, I've had the opportunity to do similar types of trips and to see God work in some phenomenal ways. But what I'm seeing and what I'm sensing here is mind-blowing. And truly, in my spirit, I believe God is doing something that is so huge that we really won't realize it until years to come.
I left Philippines Saturday night this time, and I came here. I don't know the days, the date, the time anymore. What I do know is like what I do know. What I know, I traveled over 24 hours. But after this transformation in me, I will do it over and over and over again. Thank you.
Once you have tasted, once you have really been around and seen and lived in an environment of significance, your heart will never be satisfied for anything else. And your heart will always hunger that when you communicate life into people's life. Not only lessons into people's life, but life into people's life. You will never be the same.
Yan, you are muted. I think maybe stop share. It might be easier.
Yes, so as you can see, that was my first interaction with values-based leadership. And as I say, the rest is history. But I mean, that was 19,000 people being trained in 3 days. It was absolute mayhem. But I mean, it certainly changed my life. And as I said before, if it can happen in these kind of countries, why not in any country? So my only question after this is, we've been probably by the time we started, we've been more than an hour and a half already. So my question is, how do we proceed?
Oh, thank you so much. It has been a very nice submission. I will allow me to extend my gratitude to Dr. Harvey Moore and you, particularly John Robert, for giving us your time to take us through all these contents. Permit me also to extend the apology of Honorable Dr. Julius Malinga, the Deputy Speaker of Parliament in South Sudan. He told me for a reason that today is going for a graduation function at Juba University. He will not be able to be with us. I've also received the apology from Dr. Apollo, who is the Secretary to the Speaker, and then the Vice President of South Sudan as well, whom they have traveled for a visit, for a tourist visit with some of the delegates that came from outside. Before I have given him my insight, allow me extend this opportunity to Dr. Paddy Kamunyuke. I have been told that he is with someone near him, to permit the person near him to introduce ourselves. Thank you. Paddy, you are on.
You are muted, Mr. Kamiyake.
Yeah. Hello.
Oh, yes,
Hello.
hello, we can hear you.
Good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
My name is Chebet Jamil. I'm grateful to be with you. I'm a PhD candidate and I've liked the program. I'm really interested. I'm an educationist. I work as a district inspector of schools. At the same time, I'm a trained special needs teacher and I've loved the program so much. I will hope to be with you.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, the program is good. And as a PhD candidate, it helps me to enlighten on my knowledge on education and the other factors. So I'm grateful to be with you, and I hope to be with you for some good time. Thank you. Back to you, Mr.
Perfect.
Kia.
Thank you very much.
Oh, PhD candidate, allow me to extend my request to you. My target as Ambassador Joshua is to see that we equip our country as Ugandan and so that we can be able to have a better leadership version that will liberate this society. And we see that we complete each and every Ugandan by 32 years. I am so thankful to see you have managed to create time and share up with Paddy. We shall have a meeting, and I'm praying to God that this forum that I've joined this meeting for the first time will be one of the alignments that will help us take this vision to accomplishment. The journey that goes to a destination begins with a step. So I want you to mobilize me, all the DEOs, all the district education officers, all the senior leaders in the different governments. I'm looking forward to request John Robert, which I have already done now in public presentation, to have this kind of webinar done on every weekend separately with our leadership class so that we can be able to equip our societies, because liberating a society is not a one-day content. It's a long-term strategy. So I'm very much appreciative for your presence, Madam. Wish you good luck in your PhD. As you complete your PhD, that is not the end of the studies. Let's continue learning. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joshua. Thank you too.
Thank you.
Grateful to hear from you. Thank you.
Okay. So how do we start? The question you have asked. I would want to get back to, in leadership, I don't make a sole decision. We have a demonstrator here of Action for Youth Challenges Uganda. We have the General Secretary Action for Youth Challenges here. We are also in the inside to incorporate the Professor Kahald from Egypt as our consultant, because this is African movement. My objective is to see that if there is too much poverty and people are making a lot of noise in social media, TikTok, newspapers, what must be done to mitigate the gap in Africa? So that's why I developed a concept to raise 3 professors in each village in Africa by the next 32 years, so that we observed, if we have our society well educated, shall we still have this status of economy? Because we need to go beyond distributing clothes as humanitarian. We need to go beyond just going to give people food after eating food. So what is next for tomorrow? We need to look at what is a long lifetime impact. And this movement is not only in Uganda. This movement, I am even in. That's why I brought forward the Deputy Speaker of Parliament for South Sudan. And I've also notified the Deputy Speaker of Burundi. I've also been able to talk with Speaker of Tanzania, so that we come on board and we see education as the first priority. Of recent, I was meeting the Cameroon speakers and then their own system of administration, discussing agenda why Cameroon is in a total mess. It's because we are looking at politics of games instead of politics of giving services. So I would want to pray to all of us that we are all stakeholders. John Robert, I normally call you like African angel for liberation. You don't know why you are in South Africa, but I am trying to evaluate what you do and what you are doing, because it's beyond just talking to you as Jan. I need to evaluate who am I talking to in the spiritual aspect. I am seeing you are placed in Africa to liberate the mindset. We have been decades in ignorance, where our presidents, our leaders, our administrators, they have a lot of autocratic system of leaderships. But I am believing through the contents you have presented and through the concept we are hearing, we are good to have this content extended to global pattern of African planet in these 54 countries of African societies. So what do we do now? I am giving the ball back to Dr. Paddy, who is our head, to decide which time do we start to attend these classes, as we are fixed to start learning this leadership program. We want to start with the package of 8 weeks. So as he is our administrator in organization, I cannot decide this for him. He can decide for me, then I will obey the content of what he has resolved. Dr. Paddy, you are welcome.
Thank you, Joshua.
Thank you.
It has been a great pleasure interfacing and interacting with Dr. Robert. Looking at the amount of work to be done, I think the time should be adjusted a little to 10 o'clock to give us room to prepare ourselves and have maybe a 3-hour session every weekend. That will be very welcome. And
So,
I hope we will have...
confirming we continue weekend session.
Exactly.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I hope there will be study materials that will be accompanied with the discussions that we'll be having on Zoom, so that we internalize more of the concepts that have been laid in VBL. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me get this time to hear something from General Secretary. Mr. Kurut, do you feel like within your organization structure of action for youth challenges, do you feel like some other leaders, you feel convicted to have others equipped? Because the insight is we want this class first to start with our team, then we shall bring Ugandan delegation when we have already gotten something, so that we can be adding also value towards the team. Do you feel you have some people that would be of value to be added?
Thank you so much. A very inspiring program. From that way, some of us who have been on leadership, but really need demonstrative leadership. And leadership people look at and say, yes, I want to be the kind of person to build such a character in me. And for us who take long with the children in the schools in 8 and 9 days, we are with someone's child at class, and that's about 3 months, 12 weeks. By the time the child goes back home, he has to teach the parent. So we really need to encourage this to our children. I propose we shall sit down and pick a few of our people to add into this program before it goes there. Then after we've gotten the whole concept about this, then be able to train our own with the time. I think that's very okay. Thank you.
Okay. Point taken. Permit me bring forward Professor Kahal, whom we have been into interaction, Jan. When I talked to Kahal, we wrote our concept to UNESCO, and that one was not able to go. That one was for multilingual. But I've gone ahead. I wrote a letter to the education system of Russia and China, and they were able to give a response, because we told them for us to come with a better version of Africa, we need to have our communities equipped with multilingual languages, such that they are able to beat up the job market in the global pattern, so that we see a way of finding our young Africans deployed in China to work, deployed in Russia to work, where they work without language barrier. So with the consultation from Russia, they were able to show me positive response, and I have been given an invitation to go and do the presentation about how we can have this curriculum developed, and we effected by they told me by the beginning of January 2027. So I am going to Russia in August. So may I bring forward Kahal to present something? If he can be part of this training, we would look forward to have a team that is fully trained in this lineage with an intention to extend service of educating communities in every global part of African community. Every part of African continent. Kahal, we can hear some insight from you. Meanwhile, through my request, I would request you in this room to permit me share your number to our administrator, Dr. Paddy, and then General Secretary with Okurud. You are all teachers. Me, I'm not a teacher, but I can educate so that we can come up with a better model of what we are looking at, such that we work within the standard of what is prevailing. Thank you, Kahal. You are welcome.
Yes, thank you, Ambassador Missionary, for your sharing. Actually, I would like to say also, because I'm pro coach ICF and also EMCC, I'm also a facilitator by coaching.com since 2018. I'm actually pro coach, and I see the coaching and educator, that is similar. If you can coach the people, then you can, as educator, you can coach the students. That's the good point. As Dr. Party said, how you can connect with the curriculum, how you can deliver the curriculum, that's very important. That's what I'm looking for. For that, I created my project in multilingual to support the students in learning through coaching. I'm now glad because I became as a member board in ITA. That's make me chance to connect with schools around the world, and also teachers, any organization for education, for students' life, everything like this. We can also accredit, because it's become one of the top organization for education around the world now. It's credit now. I so hard work with these organizations since 2018 also. There is also many courses for coaching, for life, for education as well. And also my project will become in this organization, can also sharing for all students around the world. Doesn't matter which country can connect with this organization, but I'm focused as a personally for Africa. That I'm so interested to contact with you, Ambassador Moshonil, because I glad to share my knowledge in Uganda and Kenya and Botswana, because I connect also with Botswana people, and also Zimbabwe, because my project, it's really useful for youth. The youth in Africa will become grow in their life through knowledge, education, multilingual, computer science, and music activity. It's really amazing. That makes different for their life. But yeah, I still work as individual, but I'm ready to move at any place to support and connect. Also, I'm connecting with Colombia and Latin America, and I'm so active with this organization. Just now, I will share in the World book writing, that's next summit. That's helped me to share a lot of multilingual for youth. That's what I'm looking for to share that in Africa. And it's simple because I have already created the lesson plan in artificial intelligence. Will be easier using for youth. That's about in my side, and I hope I can support as soon as possible. I trust you, Ambassador Moshari. Thank you for this opportunity.
Oh, thank you so much. Dr. John Robert, we have been with Kahal working over and brainstorming for a period of 1 year and some time now to see how we can have Ugandan young youth equipped with multilingual. I'm interested in Chinese language, Russian language, and then this South Korean language is called what? Angol. With strategies to have our young youth deployed in different countries and they are able to work without any disturbances. So, Dr. Kahal, we shall get to discuss one-on-one. I have got a feedback from Russia in regards to your concept. Thank you so much. Let me get back to you, John. I have no objection with what Administrator Paddy has brought forward, that we extend the time of the training to be 10, at least 1 hour from 9, so that we can be able to take in some time. I do not know what our brothers from South Sudanese Parliament will also talk about time, because they would also wanted to join us and we complete this session 1 together. Then we begin to have inter-parliaments 3 days breakfast or 3 days cocktail presentation to see that people are aligned in the mindset of real authentic leadership, so that we go beyond autocrats to real leadership. So I do not know, we are yet having that, but we are yet to come in another Zoom meeting. They had requested me that they are having a session today. I should also talk to you, and then they fix their own date so that you can have a webinar with them. So I want, before we close, since my phone has gotten broken down a little, to have the feedback from you, if I can inform them, and then we will fix the date. They have their own, we have a webinar with them as well.
Yes, of course that's possible. As you said, when we get a date and a time that we're all available, then by all means it will be a pleasure to be able, because I knew that you wanted to include them right from the start when we had the first conversation, even about the values-based leadership already, that you wanted 3 or 4 of them to come on board as well. So yeah, we can do that. It'll probably be easier for them than to watch a long video, because there is more interaction when people are live on screen anyway. So yes, I'll await your further details, and then we'll discuss when there is availability for both. Oh, you're muted, Ambassador. You're muted. You are muted, Ambassador.
Okay, I think the point is very clear, and maybe I'll get back to you to ask if anyone maybe has insight, and then we can close up with prayer so that we can go to a different thing.
Yes, and also Dr. Arti, is there anything you want to add to this? What your thoughts
I think
are?
this is perfect. On the weekends makes sense, and from their side it's 10 o'clock. And what we should do is just work out the logistics. So I think that another call with the rest of the people online to, share their insights and have their voices heard makes sense. For another hour call, and then set up the time going forward and formalize that time.
Okay, then another thing that I would want to add on, within this next week, anytime from now, we shall go out, all of us. We have education training in Japan, and the 2 of them will be coming back. Me, I'll still remain in Japan with an intention to meet the Prime Minister of Japan, because I am requesting to deploy African IT missionary, expert in Japan, since they are building the space station, the space elevator we want our African youth to also volunteer so that they can get some experience. So we may be disrupted for a period of 1 week. So meaning we might be looking at the other next weekend. This weekend we shall all be engaged. I hope it's clear.
Yes. Again, we can have that discussion about availability for everyone who wants to and needs to be in the next meeting, and also we can then because as I described in the proposal previously as well, that for the values-based leadership training, because that is also a part as well, which is a half-day training, and then afterwards we have an ongoing procedure for that as well, to ensure that the training gets implemented properly and that you can walk away and start the facilitation of those values in any area, whether it's in education or in communities or in government or corporate, but to be able to give them an idea of, as I said, quite often when we go to a corporate, and we're actually going back to a government department on Tuesday to finalize. Dr. Arthur already did the half-day training with 7 people. 7 seems to be a number. With 7 people in one of I think it's the finance department, if I'm right. But I mean, in one of the departments of the government
Department
here.
of Treasury.
Oh, Treasury. Okay, yeah, it's also finance. Yeah, but I mean, we're going back on Tuesday to do the additional training there as well, because we can be there in person. But I mean, it's good because that allows them to start the process in their own community, because the whole idea about this leadership training is that people will take the training, the facilitated training, seriously, and that they then go and become that leader in their communities, whatever the areas they will be. There can be all kinds of areas, including family life, and that they then go and start doing these values once a week. But again, all of that will be explained in the training. So that would be a great foundational, once everybody is on board, that we then say, okay, now we can, the next step will be a half-day training to make sure that people will become not only familiar, but they will get an international certification on the values, as a values-based facilitator. So they can't train other people, but they can facilitate this, and then from there, when we obviously we will find more and more people who want to say, I want to do this because of the impact it's going to have on them, and that's when it starts to grow exponentially. So I hope that makes sense. Oh.
Smart. Thank you.
Yeah. So is there any further questions from anybody here today? I mean, I also thank my friend. We've also been long-term friends now, Khaled and myself, and we've had several discussions. We've also been in Colombia on different webinars too. So yeah, as a linguistic genius that he is, and all the other kind of things that I've got to know him for, and passionate about educating people as well. So really appreciate that too. And Ambassador Joshua as well. We're getting to know each other through various ways and conversations that we've had already. So I also hope to from now on get to know Mr. Zachary and Mr. Kamayeki and of course the lady who was with him as well, more. That we're going to be part of this important movement ahead of us. Important, sometimes challenging, but possible. And I think this is the first step. So I'm really excited for us to have had the privilege of connecting with each and every one of you. And if you've got any questions, please ask. And otherwise, we will close this meeting. Khaled.
Yes, thank you for this good opportunity, Coach Jan. I appreciate your support every time. Actually, I have idea. I don't know if that's possible or not. If there is a platform to invite staff teacher, like teachers from schools, once in the month, because they need, actually, especially in Africa, they need the good plan for education, and that's kind of coaching. Because as I am working in international school and American school since 2000, more than 25 years, connect with international organization in Egypt. I connect with many different nationality in my school, in international school. I see that some of teachers need coaching because it's not educator enough to teach. No, they must be able to connection with students, with parents, with administration, with themselves. That's kind of coaching. I know you are professional, Coach Jan, and also Dr. Arti, and she has good idea. If there is platform and you invite some teachers from different schools from different countries, especially in Africa, I think that will be make sense for all teachers, and then we can support for education to grow in Africa. First, this behavior for teachers, and then we can create the curriculum. It will be easy to connection with education, but first they must be able to know how they doing in the connection with the people, with parents, with education, whatever, in any place, they must be coaching, good coaching. And I think you have good idea for that to share. And I hope for you very success. Please focus for Africa. I love Africa so much. Thank you.
And thank you for that too, my dear friend. Dr. Arti, have you got any thoughts on what our friend Khaled just shared?
That is another topic that actually needs a lot of insight, and I think it might be an idea to have another connection call, especially with Nyabo Chibe, and she's getting her PhD and she's in the education sector, so it makes sense to actually do it that way, because that's a very, very specific environment to talk into. And I think that, when it comes to the development and curriculum, you're actually talking about policy development, you're talking about having the buy-in from communities, educators, and youngsters. So it has to be a holistic impact change. It can't just be a couple of people on a webinar, because we've dealt with this with Pakistan for a long time. I'm working alongside another amazing person who became, I actually asked if she could recommended her to become a values-based leadership specialist. That's the only female educator in the whole of Pakistan, the only person in Pakistan to be a values-based leadership specialist, specifically in the education sector. So it would make sense to actually connect you, Khaled, with Rafia Mudassir. She is the founder and the head of department for school. Her husband is heads up a university as well, but she has got an entire team of educators. They're using values-based leadership as well as development to realign curriculum for communities and for young people. But she's worked out a framework that actually makes sense. So when we're talking about something like this, you want to be connecting with people who are already doing this and successfully overcoming policies and having a voice in parliament level. Because when we put in these systems in 1 or 2 schools and they see the impact, the issue is you need to build capacity that can be rolled out to thousands and thousands of schools, and that's where the impact is that we're looking for. So that's a powerful vision to have, and I feel that if you put the right team together with the right people for that specific topic, it's going to be really incredible. And Jan actually knows her personally as well, so I think it would be brilliant if he can actually share her details with you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Archie. I'm sure that you can able to do that. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Shukran. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Moore. I'm so impressed with that feedback. I'm so impressed and excited. I think you are a solution. You are working solution and the working. So now this is what we do. Kindly identify has those specialists, education specialists. Administrator of Akshock is here. Kahal is here, so that we can join these people together and we see how we can get to approach. As we also we go over on with the leadership component as well. I think that is a very clear. Oh, thank you.
Okay, so is there any further questions or remarks before we finish? If not, then may I, on behalf of Dr. Arthi, Moore Roberts, and myself, thank each and every one of you for being here this morning, for participating. I want to thank Ambassador Joshua for organizing all this. As I say, it's a start of a movement, a start of something bigger than ourselves. You've all been involved in, like us, in the people development for a long time. And also, of course, each and every one of you have given up time on your Saturday morning, as we have. But it's not giving up time, it's actually investing time in ourselves to ensure that we can take the next steps into something much bigger and better for the whole continent of Africa. So thank you very much. And we will stay connected, and we look forward to organizing what the next step will be. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend.
Bye-bye. And you too. Bye-bye. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
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 Bye.
Bye-bye.